Hello and welcome to Policy Watch, a packed snapshot of the week's biggest business stories, their context, their relevance and impact. I'm Govindraj, Ethiraj. Make in India has got a renewed push both at Davos and shortly in India as the US President Barack Obama comes visiting. What does this mean given all the constraints that exist for the manufacturing sector in India, particularly when it comes to new infrastructure that has not come at the speed that we wanted to? Let's understand this a little bit better with Venugopal Doot, Chairman of the Videocon Group, and also joining me here is Akshay Mathur, Geoeconomics Fellow and Head of Research at Gateway House. Thank you very much for joining us. Mr. Doot, let me begin with you. So we've obviously now raised the decibel level. We are talking about it. We are making presentations to industry leaders from all over the world in Davos and shortly in India. Are we suitably prepared on ground to deliver on the promises that we are making?
Yeah, we are quite doing all the things to deliver that promises we are making will not be broken. But people have to believe it, and that belief sort of thing will be, we say, proof of pudding is in eating, like that. We will have to now show that India means business, and whoever foreigners are coming, there is a red carpet treatment to them, and it has to be successful, because previous government, by anything, they have done the mistakes, whether they have done inadvertently or what, but serious mistakes they have made of annoying foreigners, like retrospective legislation, cancellation of license, etc., etc. So many things they have done. And foreigners have lost confidence in India, and that confidence has to come. So many times we convince them. Now, Barack Obama is also coming, but that will be a political thing. Person who is investing in India, he has to get a confidence, and to give that confidence, time will take. But only one thing I will say you, that you have to judge not where you are, but by the direction where you are. So direction is going good. It will take time. How much time it will take, it's difficult to say. Maybe 3 months, 6 months, a year. But once that confidence in India comes, at that time foreigners will come. Now talking about what is India, India is geared up for Make in India policy, because we have everything. We have got best of the judiciary, best of the bureaucracy, and best of the political systems to do all these things, and also having a great infrastructure and lot of young labor force. So this kind of Make in India is a good idea given by our Honorable Prime Minister, and for that India is geared up. And even if the foreign money doesn't come it so easily, India has got their own money. GDP growth is there. GDP growth slated down next year will be 6.4%, and it is going to 10%. So own generations are also there, and with this Make in India, all the investment will be coming. Bankers are also very, very jubilant to give money for the projects, new projects, especially infrastructure projects. And looking at all these things, I am quite hopeful.
I'll come back to a specific question in a moment. Just hold your thought there. Akshay, what's your sense? I mean, if you were to take a step back, I mean, we've renewed the promise, so to speak, or actually we're adding more and more decibel levels to the promise. Are we sort of almost overstretching ourselves here now?
There's no doubt in my mind that having a campaign and putting it into a strategy, even naming it Make in India, I think it's very important, because you're talking about a big country, and if the government is serious and if it is their priority, then putting it as a priority and naming it is very, very important. Of course, industry leaders such as Mr. Doot and others are looking for implementation. Some of them have heard words of promise before, and so they want to see action on the ground. And the action on the ground has to be resolved at 2 or 3 different levels. There are some things that the center can do, but the other things are left to the state as well as to the local governments. The industry is looking for better licensing norms so that they don't have to deal with the bureaucracy, or even line managers for electricity, for power, for water connections, and so on and so forth. So that horizontal definitely needs to come. But at the central level, of course, we're engaging with the rest of the world, and we want to pull in technology and talent and money, capital, very, very important, wherever we can't get that from within India.
Right. So if you were to put on your, asset manager, Wall Street Journal, Wall Street hat, how would you look at this proposition?
Well, I think I would be looking at India in the long term. United States, in one sense, has done that with many other countries in the world. I mean, one of the basic philosophies of investors from the US and other advanced countries investing in emerging markets is that you will get a better return, a higher return for higher risk.
Right.
So I think I would look at India in that sense, where risk may be reducing a little bit, whereas there's a better promise for return now. So I think I will relook if I was an investor.
That's a good point there. Mr. Dhoot, if we were to look at now as a domestic investor, right? So the proposition has to be as meaty for domestic investors like you as it is perhaps for investors outside the country. How are you seeing things from on the ground? I mean, is this a good time to be increasing capacity, particularly considering that in many industries we're already running at overcapacity?
There are a lot of advantage over here, manufacturing also, service also. Nowadays, service industry also playing very important role. People are investing in service industry also. And manufacturing, although it seems that overcapacity, but when consumption starts, this overcapacity will go in shortages. So it is necessary and expedient now that manufacturing should be geared up for the future demand to come. Demand is certain. I told you that there is a growth of 6.4% next year, and then it will go on up to 10%. So this money going to the people, especially Modi's idea is that money has to go into the hands of the people who are living at bottom of pyramid. These people will start spending, and then suddenly demand will be created. So that's why domestic investors are also keen that they will invest, and now Modi ji has also said that all single window clearance will be there. There will be no hurdle, no problems for any industry or any sort of trade or industry or any job creation opportunities like service industry. So all this is going to happen, and at this stage India is all set for a great growth in time to come.
And let me add a quick question there. So we've got a union budget coming up. If I were to ask you for those one or two things which will act as the turning points, if indeed that is possible, to make the Make in India proposition a little stronger and ensure that people start, actually bringing in those investment dollars.
Yeah, you must have noted that S&P has already shown that interest that India's rating may go up. So India rating can go up if the fiscal parameter in the budget is placed properly. Just like fiscal deficit is getting control at 3.5%, it is quite possible because of the petroleum prices going down, and all other incomes are also going down and taxation going down. So that will not be a problem. Only in budget, what should be done is that rationalization of all the taxes, and those who are tax givers, they should not be put at any problem under hunch, but tax should be collected properly, and it has to go for the proper spending, not extraordinary spending.
Akshay, how do you think we can, or rather what are the things that you feel we should be focusing on if we have to sort of bring this investment, assuming there's lots of it waiting for us internally as well as externally, and channel it somewhere, which is really, physically, where could it go and how could it go? In the budget, actually, it seems to me over the years the budget has become more and more of a measure of our accounts in one sense,
as it should be, rightly so, and it's a difficult job. So I think that the government will be very focused on just making sure that we're meeting these fiscal targets. The policy indicators have started to now come out through the year in different forms. So I don't know if there are big policy or foreign policy or foreign investment indications that we are going to get from the budget alone. But having said that, last time in the budget they announced, for instance, the National Industrial Corridor Development Authority to be set up in Pune. Now that is a domestic announcement, but it has implications for any foreign investor or country, because they know that this is being taken seriously, and corridors, industrial parks, smart cities, some of these are being taken seriously as an investment platform where different kinds of investors, sovereign wealth funds, businesses, companies, corporations, individual investors can come in and invest in India. Okay. Mr. Dhoot, let me come back to you. So, things take time, right? So, you yourself said that it could be 6 months to a year and so on. What are the things that we need to correct on the ground today before we even sort of, start converting the big promises into reality? What's really pending today? I mean, the key issues or the key hurdles that need to be resolved?
No, no, one thing is that Prime Minister has already created an atmosphere across the globe. Everybody is India-centric and India interest is huge across the globe. India flavor is developing. India euphoria is also developing. And with this, what we have to do that we have to gear up for our industrial activities, service sector activities, and investment to these sectors should be, I think, encouraged in this budget, and money should be available to them from bank. And there is an indication that interest rate also will be going down, so interest rate has to come down so that the project will be viable. And like that, all these steps, if it is taken, I don't think there should be any problem.
Make in India as a larger proposition, is it helping us on the global stage? I mean, I know it is, but I mean, how are you seeing it? I mean, since from your vantage point as a geoeconomics.
Well, for one thing, if you look at, if you track summits like the G20, now G20's whole mandate last year, when it, and especially culminating in the summit in November 2014, was to invest in infrastructure worldwide and as a means to resurrect growth. And one of the things that they discussed was how do you channel the money from pension funds and some of these other funds around the world, and how do you channel it into productive investments? And so in that sense, Make in India and our just comes in at the right time, because we can tell the world, yes, we are prepared. Let's tell the Australians and the Canadians and the Americans that we are ready for you to invest your long-term capital here. And in that sense, I think it's Make in India campaign comes in at the right time. It also comes in at the right time for us to be able to now start promoting some industries in India which have large-scale job impact. So, for instance, some studies have shown that food processing industries, some of the other industries, usually hire more people compared to the amount invested. So I think maybe that's another way of using Make in India to really create jobs in large scale.
Right, and that sort of brings me a good segue to the last question. Mr. Doot, one of the larger objectives in a way behind Make in India is obviously job creation, and the Prime Minister has spoken extensively on that too. There's a lot of work going on. There's a National Skills Development Corporation. There are targets. Are you seeing, as someone who runs industry which is obviously getting more leaner and leaner in its manufacturing, the ability to actually increase job creation too, even though you may bring in more investment and produce more goods?
Yeah, there is a demand for job and employment creation will be there in India because of large-scale manufacturing activities will be starting. Service sector is booming like anything. We see telecom sector, DTH sector, all everywhere people are investing, and all they are also getting employment. One company can give 10 to 20,000 people employment, and you see retail agency. All these, there is the employment is there, and this Make in India, all this circulation of the money and that we say momentum of the money will also be there, and circulation of goods, and everybody will be wanting everything, and in 5 to 10 years time everybody will have everything. Prime Minister has already said that by 2022 nobody will be under BPL, everybody will have his own house and everything they have. So to make that consumption is there, and yes, since the consumption is there, making over India is very easy because we have got lot of labor force and science and technology, everything we have, and there is a will from the government also, that is very essential. So that's why I think that now the time has come for India, that a great growth opportunity with the Make in India, and Make in India will go in such a way that here minimum economical scale of production will be produced, and that minimum economic scale of production will be becoming export competitive also. So India will export also. Nowadays many companies in India, they don't depend only on Indian market, but they become global. They are exporting more than 50% of their production across the globe. So that is why I am quite hopeful that with this momentum and creation of a better atmosphere, this employment generation will be definitely created.
And the potential for a sort of becoming a more export-oriented powerhouse as well, maybe on a little along the lines of China. So last question actually to you, Barack Obama's visit, how do you see that? I mean, I know it's a political visit and maybe only partially an economic visit in that sense, but what are you seeing any
Well, we're getting reports that, of course, it's already been reported that the CEOs of both sides will be meeting. So business again makes it front and center. The Americans are very good in making economic a core part of their foreign policy, but now we're seeing Indians also step up and use that. So I think in that sense, there might just be a little bit more attention to business and economics than usual. And business and economics, as you see, are playing an important role when we start talking sectors. And the latest news reports at least indicating that something might happen in energy. And that's also business now. I mean, if something happens in clean energy, it works very well for us. So we get technology, we get to save our environment, we get more power. And of course, if we find a way in which a developed country like US gets to work with a developing country with India, and we find a way to meet in the middle. So I think I'm looking forward to this visit, not just as a symbolic visit, but at least as a leading indicator that we found few areas where United States and India,
some of them being new ones.
Some of them being new ones where it'll be a USP between US and India, as we have tried to develop with Japan.
Right, and that's a good point. And let the competition begin.
Let the competition
begin. Well, thank you very much to our guests, Venugopal Dhoot and Akshay here. We're going in for a break, but coming up on the other side, we talk about the successful Jan Dhan Yojana scheme crossing the 11.6 crore mark. What does this mean for the banking sector and for those who have opened those bank accounts? That's coming up. Stay with us. You're on Policy Watch. Welcome back. You're with Policy Watch. The Jan Dhan Yojana has crossed the 11.6 crore mark. It's hit the Guinness Book of World Records. There are several records, including the fact that 10 crore accounts have been opened in just 4 months, 51% of which are women. Amongst many other things, the accounts have also been, or the exercise has been lauded at Davos, and the world has been talking about it. More importantly, what does this mean back here home for the banking sector and for the people who've opened those accounts, including you and me? Joining me to discuss this is Rajiv Bakshi, former Executive Director at Bank of Baroda. Mr. Bakshi, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
So this is an impressive number, right?
Yes.
How does this contrast with previous efforts to expand banking or banking financial inclusion, as we call it?
Let me say that one, it's a proud moment for India to having hit the Guinness Book of World Records. Although I'm sure that neither the government nor all those involved with it had that object in mind when they started this campaign. It was a very genuine exercise aimed at furthering the interests of the economically deprived so far, and also as the momentum builds up, it has got a huge benefit inbuilt in it for the country's economy also. But 1.8 crore accounts were opened in the span of 1 week, 23rd August to 29th August, which is the fastest opening of accounts, which has made us into the Guinness Book of World Records. Now we are heading towards almost 12 crore this week. And the other thing is, what does it mean for those who have opened their account? See, we are a welfare state, or that's the declared principle of our economic policy, which means that it should be, the growth should be inclusive. Inclusiveness means that opportunity is inclusiveness. Everybody should have the opportunity to make good in life. Till now, it's a matter of it was a matter of great sadness that many of our countrymen, particularly those who live in remote areas where banking could not reach, or even in urban centers, which were deprived because they were not aware of the benefits that may accrue by being financially literate.
Or the KYC norms were too tough and difficult
that was another bottleneck in that. Now, an account in itself may not mean anything, but if you have to have, for example, if you have to get complex knowledge, you have to know the alphabet first. So similarly, you have to have the first step in financial is having a saving bank account.
Okay.
So you have to have a saving bank account. From there starts your journey of financial literacy, and there is nothing better than having your own account and handling it rather than just getting a gyan in a class.
Right.
So this
and it's a financial identity as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Now the first question, so 116 million accounts or 11.6 crore, about 83 million or 8.3 crores are zero balance. There's about 9,000 crore lying there. Now in the balance. So the zero balance accounts means there's nothing happening, right? Is this a matter of concern?
No, we are in early days. The accounts have been opened. That's a repository which will then incentivize the people to put the money in that. See, there are quite attractive, how this Jan Dhan Yojana is different from the earlier schemes is, to my mind it comes that number one, it was a major awareness program. Earlier the banks have been quietly running this program. They have been trying to reach the nook and corner of the country and trying to get the accounts opened. And the objective as per Nachiket More committee was to reach total financial inclusion by January 16. But the Prime Minister wanted this to happen quickly. The main differentiation has been that a large campaign has been launched. So everybody is becoming aware. Then sweeteners and benefits have been added. So zero balance now, but
it does not mean zero balance tomorrow.
It will not be tomorrow.
Okay.
And we are looking at creating that literacy where they start. We want to move also for the country. They want to move the non-financial saving or saving in physical assets to financial saving. The benefits, like for example, the 5,000 overdraft or life insurance, it is dependent on operations in the account, and therefore people will have to put some money. The money may also come through direct benefit transfers, which is another big
incentive. Right. So that's the question, right? So is there a behavior issue here as well? I mean, in your own experience as a banker, I mean, when you've done similar campaigns in the past, what's the outcome? I mean, do people actually become financially included, so to speak, even though the targets were smaller earlier?
See, the final aim of financial inclusion is livelihood. It's a livelihood question, so that people open the accounts. So it's on two planks. One, whatever their savings are, they should be safe, they should be earning something, and they should take them to the next level of complex financial products, so that they can earn better, they can plan their finances better, they have got security for future and all. And the second is, then they will also be aware about loan products. They can access loan products and create a livelihood.
So do you feel that there is a larger sort of awareness thrust which still has to be done?
Large awareness has been created this time
in the opening of the accounts.
In fact, a challenge has been put that anybody who has remained, any family which has remained excluded can come and open the account. So openly it is being advertised everywhere that if you are left out. So next step will be, once they start coming and they know this time the accounts have been opened with awareness that they can get a life insurance, they can get accident insurance, they can get an overdraft, provided they operate the account. So that will come. So once the banking habit builds up,
and you're confident that the banking habit will
build up. It will definitely build up. See, other things are happening, social awareness, education, other things are happening. Financial literacy is a very important fit in the entire chain.
Now, from looking at it from the bank's point of view, and that is your point of view, what does this mean on in terms of running this as an operation? I mean, are banks prepared to handle these kind of volumes, particularly since so many of them have come at such a short time?
Yeah, it was definitely a challenge, but the banks have, I must say to their credit, that particularly the public sector banks, who have opened the majority, out of 11.6 crore, I think more than 11 crore are opened by PSBs. With whatever staff constraints they have, I think it goes to their credit that they have handled it well. And I think now with IT support, the idea is that most of these operations, credit should come through direct benefit transfer, other than what little people may like to deposit. Withdrawals and all should be happen through ATMs. Everybody has been given a RuPay card, and if they use the RuPay card, then only they get entitled for certain things. So the idea is to move a lot of the transactions outside the bank into this. But banks have done a great job in opening the accounts. As far as the viability,
the viability
of operations is concerned, even commercial operations have a break-even period. So this, apart from the social benefits that will accrue, ultimately, like C.K. Prahlad said, there is a lot of fortune waiting at the bottom of the pyramid. So there is a fortune waiting at the bottom of the pyramid. Ultimately, these savings will add up to a lot. They will be customers for other products. And I think apart from social cohesion and social inclusiveness that will be there, I think it will overall become profitable over a period of time.
Yeah, and that's the last question in a way, right? So how long does it take? I mean, when you look at your own career as a banker, I mean, the time you take to actually bring in someone who is at the early start of a life cycle, and then, you know, and we're talking particularly about disadvantaged sections of society, which is what this is aimed at. What is the...
Yeah, it's difficult to put a time period on that, because this profitability we'll have to see not on an individual account basis, but on a portfolio basis. So on a portfolio basis, this can grow into a mammoth volume.
So you're saying some people will adopt more, you start using it and make it sort of viable for the bank as well.
So the total volume will build up, and how the banks leverage IT to do that, and how, and I think this government is so focused that they will see to it that the habit is taken to the next level, and that will mean more products usages per customer, more products. Though the viability comes from either a large amount in an account, or it comes from more products per customer.
Right. So last question. So what's the one key challenge ahead?
One key challenge is that the momentum should be maintained, and this should be taken by the banks. They should create separate verticals, which they have. And the good thing in this time, the difference from the other times is government has also taken to see that same IT platforms are used across. Earlier biometric was there, now they have given RuPay card with PIN, which is easier to use. The rural people, sometimes there some these lines don't work properly. Plus various state governments, involvement of the state governments, how they create other products around this backbone and which has been created. That will be the challenge, which will, an opportunity which will take it to the next level.
Right, Mr. Bakshi, thank you so much for being with us. Well, that's all we have time for on Policy Watch this week. We'll be back next week, same time. Thanks for watching.